and breathe. Oh, I am actually out of breath after that. Probably the last 10 minutes of that game. Goodness gracious me. Um, Great game. Actually, it was a really, really good game. I really enjoyed it. As much as it just killed me to watch a lot of it. It was a really good game, but it were both sides had a lot of very big opportunities that they didn't take, and a couple of opportunities that probably should never have gone in. It's interesting that is the deciding factor. The fact that the Aubameyang goal that perhaps Pope should have been getting a stronger hand to. We'll talk about that. And obviously the Chris Wood goal, absolutely world class, absolutely world class. But then you had other opportunities which I will talk about soon. But all in all, I am very pleased with the result. I was expecting to go into today's game, as I've said many times, losing. So thankfully we didn't lose. You could have argued both sides could easily have won today, which I suppose is testament to the fact that the game ended up being a draw. So, as I say, all in all, I'm quite happy with the draw, and I think in terms of how the game played, a draw was fair. Though listening to the commentators that I was listening to, they would certainly disagree. They thought that Arsenal had the far better game and should have won today, and that it was 2 points dropped for them and 1 point gained for us. I totally disagree. I think in a sense it was 2 points dropped for both teams today. But I'm obviously going to say that I'm a Burnley fan. I'm biased, all the things like that. But I do truly believe that we played out of our boots today, especially after that Leicester game. It was a really big game. A really big game. Somehow happening to improve. I thought anyway, happening to improve upon our last performance, considering that Leicester had a very weak team in terms of injuries, and Arsenal had, I suppose you could argue, their best and strongest side. I don't think there was anyone massive who was missing, so I think we played excellently. At the lineup, the starting lineup, it was excellent to see Goodmanson back, and it was really enjoyable to see Josh Brownhill back in the midfield. I'll talk about Josh Brownhill though. I can't say I've got particularly positive words. I do have some, but not in the whole. But yeah, all in all, it was nice to see the lineup and finally having a right mid back on the pitch, and Robbie Brady back on the bench as well, which was a great positive to see. There were a lot of big things to talk about actually. Now I'm thinking about it. I think one of the primary ones they were calling for 2 possible penalties. The first Arsenal anyway. The first one, obviously, well, both of them were Eric Peters, but the first one, Eric Peters had his arm out. It's a difficult one to give, I think. It's a difficult one to give and a difficult one to not give, because he does have his arm out. By the rules, that should be a penalty, but on the same token, he was on the move, and when you're on the move, you don't quite have full control over your arms. I might have to look at it back a few more times to get my full verdict on it, but as I say, I think it could have gone either way, and thankfully and luckily it didn't go against us, which in seasons prior, that certainly would have gone against us. Absolutely, that would have gone against us. Which, by the way, talking of seasons prior, I believe this is our best season against Arsenal. What was it, like 1960-something? I believe this is our best season against them. I could be wrong on that, though. We might have got 4 points out at another time, but from what I understand, that is the truth. Yeah, you know what? All in all, I was very pleased. The second Eric Peters penalty, I was baffled because I saw him block it perfectly off the line with it. It was around here. Like it wasn't here. It wasn't here. It was around here. Maybe even a bit further up actually. I was baffled because I thought he blocked it off really well. I actually stood up and applauded the block because that was massive. That was absolutely massive. And props to Peters for doing that. I should talk about this a little bit later on, but I do want to talk about it. Yeah, just an excellent block. And I cannot believe that the referee literally instantly pulled out his red card, penalty. I was baffled. And obviously they looked at VAR and they found out that it was just one of the best blocks I've seen in my life. Oh, goodness gracious me. You must beg my pardon. But anyway, in terms of the starting players and the players who came off the bench, Nick Pope, as I said, I think he probably could be saving that Aubameyang shot. But, you know, you can't really say much about it because there was a fair bit of power behind it. Perhaps positionally he might have been off. I'm not a great goalkeeping expert, so I couldn't say that for absolute fact. But I do think he could have got a stronger hand to it. It looked a little bit flimsy. But again, in first 10 minutes, anytime we go down first, I'm just braced for a loss. But we came back and we really fought. And I think even though the goal that we did get was a bit of a fluke, I think we deserved it. So all in all, I think Nick Pope had a fine game. Other than that save that he didn't quite do, but he came out a lot, saved things well, and not saved things. He caught things well. Commanded his backline very well. Again, it was just another standard Nick Pope performance with a slight tinge of, ooh, could you have done better? But, you know, you can't expect him to save every single thing, otherwise there would literally be no point of having goalkeepers. Otherwise you might as well just have everyone score goals. So, yeah, I think he was fine, and I think he was good, actually. Matt Lowton. All right, Matt Lowton today. Weirdly, I feel like he was a really good player, but I can't think of anything that in particular marked his performance as excellent. But I think that's just a sign of a really good all-round performance. I don't think he put a foot wrong at all. He had a really good battle out on that left-hand side with Willian in the second half. It was an excellent battle. Like, it was very, very entertaining to watch. And he came out on top the vast majority of the time. So that's a big thing for him. Even though we have been praising him in his attacking ability, and his ability to cross, pass, and move, I think defensively today he was excellent and perhaps our best defender. Maybe, I don't know. We'll talk about it. So yeah, I think defensively was excellent. In an attacking sense, he didn't offer as much as we're used to him offering, but that's fine because I think the rest of the team did do very well, and I think the rest of the team pulled up their socks a little bit more today. Left back Charlie Taylor sadly went off with, I believe, a hamstring injury. He had an ice pack under his leg, so that's the idea I got. It worries me because that's 3 times now that his hamstrings flared up and given him a bit of a problem. I'm hoping that it is just a bit of a precaution and that he's pulled up a little bit and he's thought, I'm just going to come off now. Fingers crossed, but we've done very well with Charlie Taylor back in the left back position. He's taken a little bit of time to get back and perform well, but now he's only really just started his run of good games, so now he's back off injured again. It's disappointing, but saying that, I think he had a really good game. I think it was about the 60-something minute, I believe, when he came off. It might be a bit earlier. Up till that point, I think he was excellent. He was just being the standard Charlie Taylor we all know and love, and played well with Dwight McNeil, I think. Defensively, he was perfectly fine. Kept up well with players, blocked things when he needed to block them, prevented crosses from going in well. And I think that's also testament to Dwight McNeil, which obviously I will talk about, but I think that's testament to Dwight McNeil because when Charlie Taylor had to keep his narrow-minded defensiveness, rather his narrowly defensive mind, I should have rephrased that. Dwight McNeil came back really well and defended really well, I thought anyway. Centre-backs, Ben Mee, absolute. Oh, that man. I don't have words for him. Words don't exist for Ben Mee's recent performances defensively. He's just not put a foot wrong. The amount of times he got in front of the ball to prevent things from going in net, and just he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. And sadly, that's not the same as what I can say for James Tarkowski. Again, he's had another game that he's just been totally off pace, totally. I don't want to say the words that I'm thinking of, but he lackluster, you know. I don't want to say it because I love Tarkowski and I think he's an excellent defender, but recently he's just been really off it and he's looked lethargic. Defensively, he was just all over the place. It's his disorganisation again. It was similar to last game. Um, I'd have to look back at their first goal to see if Tarks was the problem in it. I can't recall that. I can't recall anyone particularly being a problem. Might have been Lawson who was the problem, actually, now I'm thinking about it. So I don't think we can put that on to James Tarkowski's fault. But for the rest of the game, most defensive errors, I felt, came from his sort of lack of sharpness, almost. It is baffling to me. Maybe he's trying to force his way out of the club. I don't think he realises that is not the way to do it. People aren't going to want a defender who can't do things. Other than that, I think he a lot of his long balls reached where he wanted to go really quite well. There were a couple times where it was a bit wayward. There was one in particular. It was a beautiful long ball, and it was perfectly weighted for Dwight McNeil to pick up. He ended up crossing that one out, but it was an excellent ball. So you can't fault him for that. And I think in terms of his composure on the ball today, he was pretty good. He was showing Gareth Southgate a little bit of what he can do, but defensively, I was not impressed with him at all. But maybe that's exactly what Gareth Southgate wants. He wants a poor defender who can play well with the ball. Not that James Tarkowski is a poor defender, of course. I think he's an excellent one. But it's just recently his form's been below average. Which you don't want to see. You don't want to see from the person who's supposed to be one of your best players. Left midfield, Dwight McNeil. In recent games, he's looked lazy and he's just looked bored. He hasn't looked creative or he hasn't taken initiative in certain situations. But today, he grabbed this game by the balls and took on Bukayo Saka on that left-hand side. Beautifully. It was there were a lot of really interesting sort of battles today. And I think that one in particular really spoke to me. And I think Dwight McNeil, you could argue, came out on top. But I think Saka also played very well. But it's nice to see, those men are England's future, I'm telling you. Both out on wide, both different sides. In terms of Dwight's general play, I think he were excellent. He played the ball well into midfield, made a lot of very good, well-informed decisions, which recently he hasn't been doing. He's just been keeping hold of the ball as long as he possibly can and then losing out on it. And even when he did lose out on the ball today, he just seemed to have that energy to come back and win the ball. And, it's nice to see that Lays, I don't want to, Lays feels a bit, not disappointing, but almost unfair to say about him. But the fired up energy today, I think really changed him as a player and changed his look compared to previous games. And I think today he was up there as one of our better players. I don't think he was our man of the match. We will get on to that. Right midfield, Johan Berg Gudmundsson, excellent to see him back. Did I think he did anything in particular that was good? Honestly, no. I think he ghosted a lot of the game. One opportunity in particular, I remember Josh Brownhill was on the edge of the box area and made the perfect pass. And Gudmundsson just didn't make the run, and it baffled me a little bit because the Gudmundsson who plays against Crystal Palace runs onto that instantly and scores the goal, or at least gets it on target. And I was baffled that he didn't run through, and it was an excellent pass from Josh Brownhill. But the commentators that I was listening to, not ridiculed, but they focused on Josh Brownhill's poor pass. I don't think it was a poor pass at all. I just think Gudmundsson could have gone on top of it and got a shot away. But perhaps that's just a bit of rust after being out for a few games. But it's nice to see him back. I don't think he went off with an injury. So yeah, hopefully he doesn't continue ghosting in games, which I know he won't because he's a very good, tricky player and he did make a few good little moves today, but nothing of worth to really comment about and say, yep, he had a very good game today. Midfield, Ashley Westwood, again, the man just, does he really do anything wrong ever? Well, sometimes he did a couple games ago, but I think he was very good today. Held the ball well in the centre of the midfield, which I don't think could be said for recent games. He looked a lot more comfortable, I think, with Josh Brownhill next to him. But I think Jack Cork obviously was injured, but it feels very unfortunate for Cork to be taken out of the squad because he's been excellent as well, which is good for us as a team to have players that if you take one out, another one's going to come in and play just as well, if not better. And you need that competition, otherwise your players just aren't going to do anything, which I think is what the problem with Dwight McNeil's been. Anyway, we've talked about Dwight McNeil. So yeah, Ashley Westwood played excellently alongside Josh Brownhill, and Josh Brownhill, I think, played excellently alongside Ashley Westwood. He didn't ghost nearly as much. There were a couple sort of periods in the game where he didn't seem to do much, but other than that, I think same with Ashley Westwood. They both just played their roles perfectly. Well, maybe not perfectly, but they both played their roles very well. Made some perhaps not incisive passes, but some important passes in terms of keeping the ball and holding possession, which, by the way, I think we did very well today. We looked very composed during a lot of the game, and it was nice to see us holding possession comfortably, considering Arsenal's press for a lot of the game. But that's the midfield. I think they both played very well. Not man of the match, though. Chris Wood up top. Also not man of the match. For me, anyway. He obviously scored the goal. And looking at the replay, he did actually... The ball didn't just hit him. He went into it. He knew what he was doing. And that's just the sign of a poacher. He knew what he was doing. He went into it and got on top of it. And just... What did he even do? Like, wasted it in. He scored a goal with his waist. The man's a genius. The man is a genius. I think that's his 5th goal of the season now, which is it's a positive thing to see. But, and this is a big but, that one opportunity, Mate Vidra passes it in beautifully. But to be fair, in terms of the build-up for that shot, Vidra had it, passed it into Wood. Wood flicked it back onto Vidra, and then started making the run. It was very, very nice, quick play, and it was impressive to see. And Vidra passed it in, put it on a plate for him, and he's lacked the composure. He's just kicked it, and it's not... I was on my feet. I was already celebrating, I'll be honest. I was already celebrating, but when your number 9 is in a situation like that, one-on-one, no one really contesting him, he has to put it in the back of the net. And fair enough, perhaps Leno did do well to protect the ball from going in the net, but I don't think that was the case. I just think Wood had to put it anywhere other than at Leno, and it goes in. And I think he had a fair bit of room to put it on Leno's left-hand side and on his right-hand side. Perhaps could have even put it through his legs. But I don't want to dwell on that for too long, because I do think he still had a very good game all in all, and I think generally that was his only real downfall in terms of how I'd rate his performance. He held the ball up absolutely excellently today. The amount of times he won the ball, chested it down, kept it well, and passed it out wide or passed it into the centre. He did play very, very, very well. And perhaps he's unlucky that if he had scored that second goal, would have got man of the match, in my opinion. So I think in terms of that, he was very unlucky and deserved to be the name of the match today. Just his general play, the fact that he got his goal. A few passes were a bit dodgy, but that's just Chris Wood for you. He was offside a couple of times. That's just Chris Wood for you. But as I say, his general play today, in terms of being the hold-up man, being the big man up top, the target man, excellent. Absolutely. That's probably the best I've seen him in a very long time in terms of his hold-up play. So it was very pleasing to see that, especially with my man of the match today, Mate Vidra, coming off of him playing well, and he just seemed to be everywhere in terms of the attack. Like, he was out on the right, out on the left, in the centre, up top. He was absolutely everywhere but the defence. The amount of times he ran onto the ball and pushed to get it with his pace, and quite frankly, he used his pace very well today, and he knew when he wasn't going to get the ball, and he knew when he was going to get the ball, held back, pushed when he needed to, and when was more sensible. His mind was just in the right place today. Pardon me. As I say, for that Chris Wood opportunity, played excellently with Wood, but the ball in was just beautiful. It was probably an inch off the defender's foot away, but if he puts it anywhere to the right or anywhere more to the left, if the defender gets it or Chris Wood doesn't get to the ball, and an absolutely beautiful pass, absolutely beautiful pass in. Not even just that, his hold up play as what was he, 5'6", 5'7". He's not a tall fella. In terms of what you'd associate with the big man up top for Burnley, but he's done it a lot this season. He jumps very well, wins the ball very well, and he headed it quite well. He does have a little bit of a 50p head, but what more you can't ask much more from him. There was the one opportunity where Dwight crossed it in well, and Vidra missed with the header, which perhaps you could say maybe that should be going in, but it's still not a particularly easy chance for someone of his height. But to get up and win that header, excellent. And really, I don't think he put much of a foot wrong. I don't even think you can really call that header a foot wrong. And that's why I'm giving him my man of the match, because he was absolutely everywhere. His work rate was just absolutely class, and it is so wonderful to see him playing like this now, because in January, people were calling for his head. Even he was calling for his head to leave. And having that little and large partnership of Wood and Vidra and anybody but Jay Rodriguez works so well together. Vidra, he really does bring the best out of some of our players, and recently has been bringing the best out of himself. And it's so positive and so reassuring to see that. Perhaps sometimes he doesn't contribute well to the goals, but he contributes well to overall team play. And that's exactly what Chris Wood did today as well. Contributed to a goal and overall team play, and I think that's why we played so well. It was just a real team performance. Everyone did exactly what is generally expected of them. But anyway, in terms of substitutions, we had all three today. Magical. Eric Peters came on for Charlie Taylor through injury. Eric Peters... when Taylor came off, I put my hand in my head. I'll say it. I'll put my hands on my head. I was like, goodness me, we've lost. No, far from it. Actually, we drew. And I think he put in a good performance, considering defensively he was really fine. He didn't really come up with much of a problem. But that block off the line, I can't get the block off the line out of my head. The man. That is some block. Perhaps a little bit careless with the first penalty problem with his arms out. But all in all, I think he had an excellent game. He didn't have much time on the pitch, half an hour, I think it was-ish. But with that half an hour, he proved that, and he proves regularly, if we are to lose Charlie Taylor, if we are to lose him out on injury, Eric Peters will come in and will perform. Perhaps not to the level of Charlie Taylor in an attacking sense, but he will perform, and he will prove that, if needs be, I am here and I will perform to my absolute best. And rarely, I think, do you see Eric Peters performing below his best. Even though his best isn't particularly amazing, his best is regularly consistent, and it's nice to see. He had the shot on target that when he kicked that ball, I was like, why have you done that? And then I kept on watching it. It was just kept on looping over. Leno made a really good save there though, and flicked it over well. So all in all, I think he had a pretty good game. Nothing massive other than the block. But yeah, he had a good game, and I was pleased to see him performing at a good level once more when we needed him. So yeah, thank you, Eric. Thank you for coming to Burnley and just being a Burnley player. That's, you know what it is? I am part of this gang culture against Eric Peters, and I shouldn't be, because he actually is a Burnley player. He's an excellent utility player when needs be, and he knows it. He's a professional. And the amount of times I've heard Sean Dyche refer to him as a professional is bang on. Absolute bang on. He is a real professional, and I love Eric Peters now. I love the Dutch. Robbie Brady, when he came on, I've got nothing to say about Robbie Brady. Absolutely invisible. I don't think I saw him touch the ball. Like, that was the level he made. No, I lie. I do lie. He made one run down the wing, which was a very good run, in fact. Crossed it in. Didn't beat the first man. It was, honestly, Robbie, I love you to pieces, and I want you to do well, but you are miles away from Johan Berg Gudmundsson. And I don't want to say that because I do know deep somewhere you just have to scratch beneath the surface. And Robbie Brady is an excellent player. He's very creative. He's got a beautiful left foot. And perhaps it is just that he's been playing on the right-hand side that's been his problem. And we need to give him a bit of a run on the left-hand side. But I don't know. Yeah, as I say, he just ghosted a lot of the games. Didn't really do much to change anything. So, honestly, I wish I could say more, but that's it. And in terms of Gio Rodriguez coming on the pitch, he had a couple, not big opportunities, but opportunities that he made look big. He had a left-footed shot that I'm sure he had flashbacks of Old Trafford last season. Or is it the season before now? I don't even know. I don't know how long ago it was now. I think it was last season. That doesn't matter anyway. We know the goal we're talking about, and he took a shot and it was very, very wide. And there was another chance where the ball landed to him. He was about to shoot. David Luiz got across really well and prevented the shot from happening. If that had have happened, I don't think he would have scored it. It was a very difficult opportunity to take. But all in all, coming on, I don't think he really did anything wrong. He didn't really have much time to do wrong, nor did he have much time to do right. But he did still do a little bit of right when he came on. So that's a positive, I'd say, considering the fact that I've been slating him recently. And I think fairly. I think I've been slating him fairly. I don't think you can ever really slate somebody fairly, but I don't think he's been up to his best recently. But coming off the bench today, he didn't look bad. So I think if he'd have been given a little bit more time, he might have been able to change a bit of something. But I was happy with the timing of the substitutions because we were performing well. But anyway, all in all, I think we played very well. Probably could have snatched a win, could have also been robbed of a point. It was just one of those games. Both teams, I'm sure, will be very upset to find out that they've only got a point. But I think that's the reason that a point has been that the overall score was just 1-1 and that the point has been given. But yeah, all in all, I'm pretty pleased with the game, and I can't remember who we're playing next. I believe it's Everton. So hopefully we can take the game to them after a couple of pretty good performances. 1-1. I want to win now. Because I think we've had two draws, another 2 draws before that. I don't think we've won a game for 5 games now, but we have got 4 points. We're pulling slowly away from the bottom 3. I have to see how other performances match up now. We are now 2 games ahead of Brighton and Newcastle. Brighton have to play tonight. So hopefully Brighton don't win any of their games, and hopefully Newcastle don't win any of their 2 games either. Anyway, we have to focus on ourselves right now, because if we don't perform, other teams around us may well perform and start doing things. But if we don't perform, we want the other teams around us to start losing. It is quite as simple as that. That's the beauty of football. It's a very simple game, but it's not quite as simple as being simple. And that's why we love football. That's why we love football indeed. Anyway, so yeah, on to the next game. Hopefully we can pull away 3 points, and really start trying to push up the table. So yeah, on to the next one. Up the Clarets. Come on, you Clarets. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave any discussions that you would like in the comments. And thank you very much. God bless Up the Clarets.